From the moment I started and picked up a controller, I always had the goal of being #1.
A meteoric rise! Zane's done it!
He's done it! The new god has emerged!
The #1 ranked player in the world, Zain!
Listen, it's over! Zayn says, I am #1 in the world for a reason!
I remember sitting in the same couch disgustingly for like 12 hours just running sets of back and forth, only getting up to go to the bathroom.
One of the greatest rising stars that this game has ever seen.
Any parting words?
It's about time.
Going all in on Melee can be very mentally taxing, and to have other outlets, it's just so vital. Oh, hell no, that doesn't count. For me, that's the goal of this series, to balance it all together and to play better Melee than I ever have before.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a new series with LG Smash that is Deep Dives with MaxKetchum, and that's me, MaxKetchum. I'm a longtime competitor, commentator, and TO in Smash. Over the years, I've met a lot of interesting folks. Our first guest, I think this one's going to be awesome. We have Zain, the current best Melee player in the world. Don't let them rankings fool you. What's going on, Zain?
What's up, Max? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Definitely an honor to have you on the show. You know, you've got quite a bit of history under your belt now. At some point, it felt like you were the new face on the block. I mean, you definitely were. Let's tell Zayn's story, man. So first, I just want to go into the basics. Like, who are you outside of the Smash community? You know, what's your family life like? How'd you get into Smash?
I'm from Northern Virginia, the MDVA Smash area. Got into Melee around 2014, my last year of high school, the summer, right around when I graduated. More of just like, you know, I played Melee growing up. I have an older sister, older brother, and, you know, I love that game, and I try to get time in anytime I could as the youngest, but, you know, sometimes my parents would limit it, or sometimes my siblings would, but I always had love for the game casually, and then I learned there was a competitive scene, and I went to my first tournament in Clarendon in Arlington, and just from like the sound and the click clacks of the controllers and like seeing how fast people moved, I was just instantly hooked, and then went to Virginia Tech, which was the college I went to, and made all my lifelong friends through Smash, some of whom don't play today, but I'm still great friends with them. And yeah, it just happened kind of naturally from there.
What was like your life path looking like before Smash came into play?
My dad wanted me to do like maybe become a doctor or do computer science or some form of engineering. So, you know, Virginia Tech is a very engineering focused school. I ended up doing business information technology, which is like kind of a blend between like business practices and like kind of learning some coding languages, but like it was pretty easy, to be honest. Like it was like computer science light. And so that gave me a bunch of time my freshman year. I also came in with a bunch of credits. I literally played 10 to 12 hours a day. It was insane. Like, I pretty much majored in Melee, and I would maintain my grades and stuff within my major, especially my freshman year. I just felt like I was just like learning a new language or something. Just playing Melee literally every day and getting better, like feeling the improvement happen every day was so gratifying to me. And then going to tournaments and getting better results. It was just like, it's still by far the best grind I've ever done.
With your parents, obviously, they, you know, wanted to push you to like some of these top professional fields. What was it like to convince them, like, this is the way, you know, like, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to make it work?
Being the youngest helped a lot in that regard. So my brother's 10 years older than me. My sister is 6-7 years older. And, you know, I think they learned a lot through parenting them. Zayn's getting his degree. He's doing well, but he has his passion. It would be cool to let him like see where this goes.
JV 4-stack for Zayn, who is looking on fire.
I graduated 2018, and I basically told him like, hey, like, I'm really good at this. I think I'm really good at this. And I want to people take gap years after college. I really just want to give it my all. In retrospect, setting a timeline for myself was pretty stressful, but and then I don't recommend it, but it did work out. Where like I basically just wanted to win a major, and that summer you know, I went to Summit 6 and got 3rd, which was like the highest placing invited player placement or whatever. But then through the summer, I kept getting 9th, 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 and I was like, oh my god, like maybe I should start looking or something. Like, I don't know, this might not work out. But I knew I was putting in work, and then I ended up winning Shine that August, and things changed for me drastically then, and it kind of snowballed from there. Once my parents saw, like, you know, the potential was streaming, how happy I was doing what I loved, like, they're like, we gotta let him do his own thing. So very cool of them to have faith in me.
Yeah, and very lucky that the timing worked out too. I remember, you know, Shine being your first major win.
Honestly, I probably didn't have any business winning that tournament at that point with my skill level, but something was, it was like a miracle because I ended up getting trunched by HBox like the next 10 or so sets after that, but it worked out then.
Your improvement, you know, to start in 2014, get a top 10, top 5 win in 2016, and then win a major by your 4th year is actually kind of insane. Like, when do you think it clicked for you?
When it really first clicked was the summer I went to Northern Virginia after. So Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech is in the South. When I went back home for the summer, where it's more competitive, to be honest, I started going to a lot more. I was going to like 4 locals a week, something disgusting. Like I was on my grind, and I think that's when things started to click. Like my punish game, I started having a punish game of my own, and I think that's when it was really cemented. Like, oh, that's Zane's Marth. Like that goes for like edge cancels and pivots and like the like more advanced techniques at the time. That's when it started for me.
So how many months into competing would you say you won your first local?
I think like 10, 11 months.
That's pretty damn good, man. For a game like Melee, you know, 13 years of development in and all that.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a Fieldhouse Fights was a local. It was at a rec center in Northern Virginia. I love those venues, by the way. Just like random, not even, it doesn't, I do like the super esports venues or like bars and stuff, but sometimes when you're just trying to grind and you got like a warehouse or a card shop or a rec center, I'm just so down. So I have a lot of nostalgia for that.
What would you say your breakout win was?
It was Big House 6 in October of 2016. I had Plup in my bracket. I remember Plup saying he thought he was done for the day or something. So he didn't expect to play anyone super good. So he was going to go to the pool or hot tub or something. And then he plays me. I come through. I keep my controller in this like Elmo lunchbox. This was like kind of a meme that says "too cool." I remember like plopping it down on the table next to him, and he just like kind of like glances at it. And I 2-0'd his ass. Like I think I just think he didn't expect to play anyone who was like remotely good in that round. And yeah, that was huge for me because that moment I remember thinking like this has the potential to become a career. This has the potential. I can go far in this. And things snowballed from there. Like you said, Leffen was a few months later that summer, I think. And that was an even bigger upset that I think more people were talking about.
Oh my God.
Zain
with the victory and winners.
That was the reverse 3-0 too.
Winners round
Wow,
one.
and Hungrybox coming in for the hug on Zain.
What were your ambitions before you realized, oh shit, like I can actually make this my entire life versus like I'm still doing this and trying as hard as I can to be the best, but like, you know, what's kind of like the gap between that?
From the moment I started and picked up a controller, I always had the goal of being number one. Like that never really changed. But I think the realism of that goal became more and more concrete the more time that went on. So like, you know, it felt like more of a pipe dream when I first started. Like when I was always serious about it, you know, but like the more results I got, I was like, no, like I wasn't crazy. Like this is something I can do. So yeah, that goal never shifted. It just became more and more believable.
Like we were briefly talking about before, you know, there was TMG, the Melee games, and then CSL Smash after we merged with them and Joe and I took over. So did you play in all 4 years? Was your school even enrolled in TMG at the start? And, you know, how did that kind of shape your future in Smash?
Yeah, we definitely, I don't know if it was all 4 years, but it was a lot. And we started early. I think we started the first iteration where it was like, you know, Virginia colleges were playing each other, like Tech, James Madison University, William & Mary, UVA. And To be honest, it felt like an anime or something, where you're kind of in your own bubble with all, like I was with all my Virginia Tech homies, and then all of a sudden you're like, yo, we hear JMU has these guys, and like we're gonna do this crew battle, and I'd heard about crew battles from the documentary and stuff, and I was like, I get to do this, like this is so cool, and you have this extra layer of expectation too that is kind of welcomed because you're not just fighting for yourself, you're fighting for your homies and like your college and the pride that goes in there. And it's just so nostalgic to like carpool together to different colleges, see and it's funny because a lot of the people that I played in the different colleges where it's like, oh, we're gonna fuck them up, like we're rivals, now a lot of them are my like really good friends. So it's just really cool to see the beginnings of that and have that college rivalry. Yeah, just really nostalgic, and it made like me way closer with all the people from my college. Just super cool. I think the best we did was at Shine 2018 when we made it that far. I think we got second to the most absolute stacked like Florida team, like at University of Central Florida. I think it was Gatsu, Panda, who now is making waves, like especially, but he was still sick back then. Gatsu, Panda, Drunk Sloth. I forget who else was on that team, but it was stacked. Like, and we didn't do too bad either. I was proud. So really good memories there.
I think it's just so poetic that, like you start college around the time you start your Smash career and you're improving year over year and like your team is doing better every year. And then your school and yourself at the same exact tournament had like this beast mode performance.
It was cool. It was really cool. I miss it a lot. I think there needs to be a revitalization, honestly, in college scenes, because it's like the perfect place to like a lot of people when they start college. It's very nerve-wracking. Like, what am I gonna do? What social groups am I gonna fit in with? And I was planning on joining all these different clubs. Like I was like, maybe I'll do ping pong, maybe I'll do this and that. And then I saw a Smash Club, and I was like, well, let's check this out. And then I just like found my place. Like, so many different kinds of people too, which is cool. Yeah, I wish a lot of people who have like interest in Smash could experience that.
Were you like immediately the best player at Tech or no?
The person who was the best, his name was Mahone. He's a Puff player, more old school from Virginia, who I'm really good friends with today. And he was ranked in MDVA. Like, I think he's a super sick Puff player that like does a lot of unique things, to be honest. And he would, I never got coaching necessarily my first couple years, but whenever he'd play me, he'd tell me to do like one thing while playing, like, oh, you should like reverse up B spacies when they're off stage and firefoxing because it's just more efficient. And then I would just do it. And so any like little tidbit he'd tell me, I'd be like, give me that. Like, it was just very useful. And he was, I think, helped me a lot. Just seeing him be the best at my college was pretty helpful for me.
Is that why your punish game on Puff is so sick?
Yeah. So the Puff is my comfort matchup. Cause he used to go Falco versus me at first cause like it was just too easy to beat me. But then eventually when I started beating his Falco, we'd run like really sweaty Marth Puff sets. And there were days we played like 25, 30 sets in one day. I remember sitting in the same couch disgustingly for like 12 hours just running sets of back and forth, only getting up to go to the bathroom. Like, it was a real grind.
When you won your first major alongside your collegiate team doing so well, it was over H-Box and Grants.
It was over H-Box, yeah.
And that also kind of ushered in this new era of H-Box holding on to number one for 2 years to then you starting to claim that title.
I was really good at that matchup in 2019, but he had such a will to win and such a grit to hold on to number one. He just outclutched me in literally if you go back and watch those sets from 2019, I think majority of them are game 5 last hit last stock, game 5 last hit last stock, and he just owned me in like the competitive aspect every time, which that's just nuts. that's crazy.
He has like 8 or 9 years on you as a competitor, so.
Oh yeah, in those moments he was by far more polished. Now I feel very comfortable. Like I'm not gonna mention SmashCon. I don't know if you know how that set ended, but he basically went for an up tilt rest, and it was game 5 last doc, and he just whiffed the rest, and I was like, hell yeah.
On the path to becoming number 1, what do you think went into that? What changed over time? Like, what kind of made you realize that it was within your reach?
In 2019 was a big heartbreak year for me, like I was mentioning, mostly because of the sets I lost to HBox. I lost a Mango Big House 9, Game 10 Grand Finals. Like, I just took so many fucking just back and forth beatings but I knew my skill level was there. So I think going through all of that and like it shaped me to become someone who had a lot of grit. And by the time 2020 rolled around, Genesis 7, I played Hungrybox, Game 5, last hit. This time was from Winners. And when I won that kind of cemented something in me where I was like, I know how I felt. Like the composure level and the level of excitement, like feeling connected with the controller and my character. Like, I was like, I can take this and use it for the rest of my tournaments. And then COVID happened. So that really sucked, but I think I showed that my success in COVID wasn't a fluke. Because when 2020 rolled around, it was like Genesis 8 into Pound back to back. So I was so happy that happened, because if I got like destroyed after the online era, I would have looked like a joke. I low-key thought that the Slippy era and online tournaments was really sick. I don't know, just the SCL tournaments and seeing people in their own like unique environments and setups. It's a very different competitive experience too, because you're in your own space. You don't have to deal with like walking around venues, having people stop you, like hotel, like you can eat your own food, you can manage your own energy. Like there are a lot of benefits, to be honest. And, you know, Slippy is so good that I feel like the competitive aspect of it was very, very legit. But, you know, people have different feelings on that. But I was grateful we had it. I think it was a really cool era, despite it being a terrible time. And yeah, I wished there'd be more Slippy tournaments too. I think I would start entering more of those now.
Yeah, dude, Melee is so lucky to have probably the best online you could conceive of.
It's so good. I mean, now playing Ultimate, like, I played the game offline like once, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, this game's not bad. And then
Who were like your biggest obstacles, you think, on that path? I mean, obviously Hungrybox being the number 1 at the time when you had first started to really climb into that territory.
I think the ones that come to mind are Plup and Axe. There were tournaments, I think, where I would just lose Plup X, Plup X, Plup X. I really revamped the way I worked on the Sheik matchup, and I think I got better at that more quickly than I did versus Pikachu. But I started down like 0-9 versus Axe, or something like that. And over COVID, I played a disgusting amount of Marth Pikachu. Like if you tuned into my stream during COVID, if you were you remember, it'd be like 4 hours a day. I'd play Tyler Swift at the time. Now he's a Swift. Just grinding that matchup. I think I've pushed it so far. But I never really got the chance to prove it, because it was just during COVID. I would never really play Axe. And so finally, by the time Shine 2022 rolled around, I got to play him in winter semis. And since then, I've won, I think, every time except for like one set. But I'm still super down, and every time I have to play him, I'm sweating. Like, I tipped off. I had to reverse. I reversed 30 him a lot. Like, it was a reverse 30. I tipped off, and it was super scary. Plup won game 5. I tipped off. So anyway, even though I got 5th at tipped off, I was pretty happy. For past Zain, I was like, I'll be Plup and Axe. Like, that was pretty good. So those two are the ones that come to mind for sure.
It's interesting that you mentioned 2 players who weren't really in the running for number 1. You know, it's almost like Marth's matchup spread. Obviously, you're so good into Spaceys. Sheik is tough. Pikachu is like a random mid-tier that does really well into you. I guess even like Yoshi nowadays can give you trouble still.
Actually, yeah, Yoshi's the one that I would mention right now. I used to be really good versus Amsa. We go back and forth on who's owning the other, I feel like. And right now he's owning me. So I gotta figure that out. Because he is really, really good at that matchup. I think I'm good at it too. He's just pushed it.
Speaking of racing to number 1, obviously last year you had the neck and neck records with Cody basically, and then settled it in a head-to-head. Tell me about how it felt going throughout the year and then also going into the show match and, you know, your feelings coming out of that?
Yeah, I think it was a very unique year where it's never happened like that before, where we were literally tied in game count, set count, major wins. Like head-to-heads are pretty comparable. So it just felt right, and I think healthy for the game to have it culminate in that fashion. You know, Cody is someone who, he used to be like, I see Cody in my bracket, I'd be like, that's light work. And he just has so much grit, I think, and pushed that matchup farther than anybody ever has. Like, you have to give him credit. Mango kind of laid down the blueprint, I think, after Summon 11. I think once that set happened, Cody took a lot of like inspiration, both mentally and game plan wise, and the pieces started coming together. Honestly, the match felt like it felt very even at the time. I was really down at the beginning.
Cody versus Marth right now is one of the like.
He just knows.
Jesus Christ.
He knows the mix-ups.
And then I kind of had a moment where I think I won like 5 straight or something, which was badass.
And he was so good at that. Wow, he doesn't
He's
go down
so
there.
straight. It's all right. It's not fear.
All right.
It's not fear. It's just
That
you
was
can't
no,
ride the
I
edge.
think that was fine.
That's the Mango run-up smash on
Yeah,
shield.
you gotta feel yourself
the
to make a
weak hit.
comeback.
All right.
Come on,
Wait,
there we go.
6-4.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Yeah, this is.
Down tilt. What do you got?
Nice.
Oh, he reacted.
I would have
6-5.
sworn he would have gone for 4
That's 3 straight. Cody was looking the greatest.
Oh, he can't get
he's
out.
dead.
Goodbye.
And we had the first 4 stock.
And then Cody had the composure at the end, so I got nothing but respect for him. It's close again this year, funnily enough. Like, I think as the midsummer rankings are approaching, I think I pretty much have 1 locked in. He has 2 locked in, but it's, you know, it's close. So we'll see what happens. We've only put, the funny thing is we've only played 1 set this year at Val BC where he whacks me, and I just have to hear that Cody owns Zain. Like, I'm like, oh bro, it's just 1 set. Like, please let him appear in my bracket path. I feel like I've made a lot of strides in that matchup, so I can't wait for the next time I play him.
He's definitely the best that Fox has ever looked into Marth.
He's not scared of Marth. I think that's the biggest thing. He plays at a close enough range where you always feel a little bit suffocated, and you have to kind of temper that with like matching his speed and also walling him out with that same speed. So, and not to get too nerdy, but it's a challenge.
I think he's such a fitting rival for you because when I was watching you come up, I thought that you had probably the best work ethic of all the top Melee players that I had seen. I was like, this is a guy who's really like putting the time in, you know, like no shade to like Mango and HBox and stuff, but they had been on top for so long that they were almost a little comfortable. But when you came around, you were like new and hungry and you put a lot of time in. And Cody came around about the same time as you, maybe like a year or 2 later. And to this day, I think Cody is like probably now the most driven in terms of like hours in. But do you feel like that's changed for you at all? Like, do you feel like now that, you know, you've known what it is to be the best player, like that you've slowed down a bit and that's kind of why he was able to catch you, and now maybe there's like a new fire under your ass that wasn't there before?
No, I was definitely hungry. He got me good. I think this year, actually, funnily enough, I still have a crazy fire to get number 1, to play the best, more importantly, to play the best Melee I think I can. That's more important to me, and I think the accolades come naturally with that goal. But I have been a lot more content focused recently, and I think that's something that actually helps my like holistic game plan, because I needed that time, just like no life grinding Melee 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. That was important for me to like, I feel like I've racked up a lot of experience. I think my gameplay is really solid. For me now, I think I need balance, and to not have all my eggs in one basket, because just like going all in on Melee can be very mentally taxing, and to have other outlets with fitness, with other career goals, with, you know, other social, like friends and family especially, it's just so vital. And I think makes your performance in Melee better, to be honest. So for me, that's the goal of this year, is to balance it all together and to play better Melee than I ever have before, which, you know, it's working. Like Gommel, I didn't put like crazy amounts of time in beforehand. Like I was doing a lot of content stuff, but I put maybe like 2 hours a day of Melee, like concentrated practice. That's the key, I think, is the real like concerted effort on a certain matchup, like making efficient work with my improvement. And that's kind of what I've been doing for the whole year, and it's been working out, you know.
You're part of Golden Guardians, and that kind of did just one day disappear, but now you're with Mogul Moves. So, I mean, tell me about both of those teams. I think that's the only two that you were assigned to, or were you on something else before GG?
I was on Panda.
Oh, you know what, dude? Yeah, I was going to say, were you on Panda? Yeah. Oh, shit. All right.
Yeah, Golden Guardians, super sick org, like really, really cool people that I met in esports that were very professional, and you know, like a lot of them didn't know about Melee, but once they saw like what the community was about and how grassroots it was, all of them loved it, and that was cool. Like they supported my tournaments and stuff. So I have a lot of great memories there, especially working with Toph, Nun, and PP once they joined the team. That was really cool doing content with them, like pretty much every week. Yeah, just it sucks that, you know, one day it's just not going to work out. And, you know, I did leave Golden Guardians while they were so active, because, you know, I'm close with Ludwig, and he mentioned, you know, Moist as a team, like he was going on board, and there was a lot of like creative freedom there. Like as I wanted to explore more into content, I think just having more opportunities there to work with Lud, you know, to kind of get his advice on stuff. There's just a lot of freedom that comes with working in a non-traditional esports space, like a team with Moist. And now I met Charlie too. Like I went to the Moist compound, and that was super sick. I'm just very grateful to have these people in my life, and it's cool to, you know, I shouted them out at like different tournaments like SmashCon, but when I win, Charlie basically asks for like all the trophies that, like, he asks for pictures, so he has a guy that makes like replicas and stuff. He takes genuine pride in that kind of stuff, and when I win, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like I actually feel like I'm fighting for something, which it's a cool feeling. So I'm happy where I am now.
Your ultimate arc and your content creation arc, you know, they've kind of gone hand in hand, but obviously you were streaming long before you decided to do Ultimate. Yeah, tell me about that, and just kind of like how it's been to play Ultimate.
It's been really cool to stream. Like obviously I'm not like, I'm gonna be transparent, like yeah, I'm doing it for content for the most part, right? And it's been really cool to see like my community grow, and like see new names become more regulars in my chat, and also watch me play Melee, which I find the cross-pollination really cool. I think that can go both ways, and I think it's very healthy for both communities, especially with top figures like promoting both games. I think we need more of it. The game itself, there are just too many matchups, man. I don't know what I'm spacing around. I think that's the main problem. Like, I just have no I would need to sit down and like look at every character's moveset to understand what is even going on. But also people find it really funny to see my genuine reactions to some of the more absurd characters. Because the thing is, prior to me playing Ultimate, I hadn't watched too much. Like, yeah, I know people meme on Steve. I know Kazuya gets like a lot of hate and stuff, like the general stuff, but I didn't really know the nitty gritty of it. So when it actually happened to me, my reactions were very genuine. Like I was like, what is going on? Like seriously. And I think people have like you know, the game's been out for a while now. People are like interested in seeing that from a fresh lens, like they're playing the game all over again, which is cool. It's cool from a streaming perspective. As for like competitively playing the game, like there's so many there are a lot of aspects I really like about it. Like I think the general movement feels pretty good. I like the biggest thing I don't like is that you can't run through each other, which I think is like a very common complaint. But like there are a lot of cool like elements. It's very 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 neutral focused. Like you have to in Melee, I think you can be a tech skill junkie and get away with it. You can't do that in Ultimate. Like you have to be the better minded player, which I appreciate. But I played recently versus Wrath Sonic at the last coin box, and I'm really bad, but he's just camping me mercilessly. And I was just thinking, like, if I were like Spargo or MKLeo and I did lose to Wrath, I watched all my VODs that I lose on the plane ride back. I'll like download it, and I was like, what if I like lost a Wrath game 10 last doc, and he's just camping me the entire time, and I have to like go back and analyze that? Like, what does that emotionally do to me? And so I feel so bad. I feel so bad for like top ultimate competitors that like have to analyze their Steve sets, or like even if do they analyze them? I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. Like, that looks so like, oh yeah, I just got destroyed by Steve. I got camped out by Sonic. So that I find it's funny, but it's also really sad. Like, those characters have problems.
How do you feel like the skill set has translated?
A lot of it does translate for sure in terms of like sharking, especially like empty land grabbing, stuff like that. Like playing around shield, I would say, is a big, like, easy transition from game to game. Although I find I don't shield enough personally, and playing around shield is way more important in this game than in Melee. Because in Melee, you want to stay more mobile, and staying, especially as Mars, staying in shield for too long is really bad. In this game, I've been playing as Roy, as Cloud. Sometimes you just want to hold it for super long. Up B out is broken. Like, getting grabbed sometimes isn't even the worst thing. So it's just like, I can just hold this. So that is very, very different to me. And I don't feel like it's like ruined my Melee gameplay or whatever. If anything, like, my Roy feels a little janky here and there. But going from Ultimate to Melee doesn't feel that bad to me. Dude, some of these old players are actually so nasty. Like, so Spargo, like, I can tell, like, he's the real deal just playing him in ult, right? Like, he just knows Smash. And I played him in Melee on my stream, and he's just like improving so fast. I'm playing different characters with him, but he took games off my Sheik, my Falcon. Like, he took games, and he like knew what he was doing. Like, he had like top player like presence in terms of like the way he pressured and moved. Some like knowledge checks with like DI were bad, but like easily fixable. Like, Cola as well as someone who's really good at Melee. Like, he plays Fox, and he's taking a game off Amsa, which is insane. That is actually, because I remember he asked Moki, he was like, yeah, you got any tips? Because we're on the same team, and Moki's good versus Amsa, and Moki gave him like a couple bullet points, but like, he took a game. Like, that's crazy. And I've played Cola. He's like actually nasty at Melee. So a lot of these alt players are super legit at just Smash in general. And I don't think it would take them super long to get good at Melee.
As you sign off, tell us about your future plans, where people can find you, any shoutouts you got.
Still streaming, twitch.tv/Zain Naghmi. It's just my name. Doing the ultimate poisoning. Got a lot of days left to go, but I'm looking to kind of spice up the content going on there. So make sure to tune in for that. My YouTube has been popping a little more. And yeah, that's mostly it. Just check out my content. I'd appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you again so much for your time, Zain. This is a great episode. And yeah, guys, if you enjoy the content, please just stay tuned to this. We'll be dropping one every month, and we're going to keep bringing awesome guests like Zain. So have a good one, man. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.